Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope that everyone's doing well. So I'm actually just finishing editing my last YouTube video, and I thought why not start on next week's. I'm having a little bit of tech issues in the sense of don't have enough storage on the computer at the moment. I am the worst person when it comes to anything tech, anything like that. I literally ask Lee, but he's gone to the gym, and I've messaged him, but I also don't want to ring him because I don't want to interrupt his workout, because obviously that is a sacred time when you're working out and everything. So I thought, why not just start the next video. I did mention in my last video that I was going to do a skincare routine. So what do I do to keep my skin looking healthy? So I thought, why not? I'm going to go and take my makeup off in a minute. We can do the skincare routine and I'll talk you through some of the things that one I use, and then some of the principles when it comes to what we look for when we want healthy skin. Okay, so I've just come into the bathroom to do my skincare. These are the products that I'm using at the moment. Now, I'll be honest, I've been quite lucky, I feel, throughout my life, where my skin's never really posed a problem to me. So where some people, you know, I've grown up and they've had a lot of acne, I never had acne. My skin, I would say, is like a combination. So sometimes it can get quite dry, especially in the winter. Some things that I do use and the reasons for them I will explain. So every couple of days I'll use the Garnier Pure Active Daily Deep Pore Wash. Now, I know that these are considered to be bad. I think it's to do with the actual beads within them. I don't know whether it's just bad for the environment or whether it's actually bad for your skin. I find for my skin personally that it is fine. It doesn't cause me to break out. And I find that if I don't use something that is exfoliating on my skin, it doesn't feel soft and it feels like it's clogged up. So this one has actually got niacinamide and salicylic acid in. Now, salicylic acid is good for inflammation. So salicylic acid is actually a derivative of aspirin. So you'll know aspirin as an anti-inflammatory drug. So when it comes to our skin, I was just saying earlier actually that there were 4 things that I focus on. So the first one is anti-inflammatory. So when we think about skin conditions such as acne, eczema, psoriasis, all of these are inflammatory conditions. So we want to be thinking, when it comes to skin, anti-inflammatory. The second thing that we want to be thinking is antioxidant. So our skin is our biggest organ in the body, but it's exposed to the outside. It's exposed to different chemicals within the environment. It's exposed to the sun, and all of these can produce what we call free radicals. And free radicals are these really, really reactive oxygen species that basically will destroy things in the path. They're very high energetic molecules that can destroy cells, and that's where you then start to see skin damage. It can also break down things like collagen. So actually using antioxidants within your skincare routine, things like vitamin C, that's a very strong antioxidant, is going to prevent sort of the damage to your skin. We need to think about the skin barrier. So like I've just said before, obviously the skin is on the outside. It is a lipid bilayer, which means that it's made mainly of fats. So we need to make sure that we're using oils and different fats within our diet in order to support the skin barrier. So omega-9 is the main one, which is contained within avocados. So you probably have heard a lot of people actually talking about avocados when it comes to skin health, and that is because it protects your skin barrier. And then the last thing that I would want to be thinking about is the gut skin axis. So our gut health is directly related to our skin health. If you have gut dysbiosis, which means that your bacteria is not sort of diverse, or it's not as diverse as it should be, it can then come out in your skin. And so that would be the 4 things that I would think of. So then going back to the topical skincare, salicylic acid is going to be good for, like I say, the anti-inflammatory part of my skincare. Cleansing oil. Now, this one is ginseng, is in the ginger family. Now, the active ingredient in ginger is called gingerol, which is a potent anti-inflammatory. So again, this is going to be good for, making sure that you're getting the anti-inflammatory properties of it. I also think that this probably is going to be good for your skin barrier, because this is an oil-based cleanser. Now, I don't think that is right for everyone. Like I say, my skin tends to be on the drier side, so I prefer an oilier-based cleanser. Also, when you're thinking about makeup being on your skin, and also like dirt and the pollution from outside, if you do use an oil-based, they also tend to be oil-based, and so it does dissolve it a lot better. So I will then use this. I use that twice a day. I use the exfoliate it probably a couple of times a week, maybe like every other day. Once a day, to be honest, this is probably more down to money, and I also think sometimes it can be harsh on your skin, but I do use the Medicube pore pads. I was actually recommended this by my friend who is actually a skin specialist. They contain sodium hyaluronate, which is it's actually I'm going to actually go back to when I said the 4 things, there's actually a 5th which I missed out, but that is hydration. So sodium hyaluronate is going to be good for hydration of your skin. So yeah, I will use these, like I say, once a day, mainly just due to cost, because they do cost quite a bit. And I feel like I did see, because when I initially went to Caitlin, who is the girl who does my skincare, not that I go that often again, I wish I could go more, it's just time and money, but I had, like, my problem was that I do have like redness around my cheeks. Now it's got a lot better since I've changed my diet maybe 3 years ago. I have noticed the redness go down. I've seen the biggest change when I cut out alcohol. So I used to drink, not like excessive amounts, but it was very sociably that I used to drink, and it used to be probably in my 20s, it was like every other week. It massively in my skin, it was just constantly red. Now I've since looked into it, and it probably means that my body can't get rid of the alcohol as well as the next person, and so the alcohol actually builds up in my system. Alcohol is a toxin, and so it's actually been toxic to the blood vessels in my face, which has caused this redness. So I think obviously whether I can reverse that, I potentially can if I use red light, which I will actually get onto because I do have a red light therapy at home. But for the time being, it has gone down a lot. I'm quite happy with how it is at the moment. I would like to get it better, but I'm not actually using any active ingredients at the minute, because like I say, I'd want to go back to Caitlin to see what do I actually need. Also, what we have to think about when it comes to topical things, often people can just think, because it's topical, it's not being absorbed. Well, actually, between 10 to 90% of whatever you put on your skin can actually be absorbed into your system. And one big thing that I advocate for all the time is when people use active ingredients such as retinol, especially retinol, which is a vitamin A derived molecule, this can be toxic to an unborn baby. So for me, I would potentially like to be getting pregnant in the next year, so I will not touch that for the time being, because obviously I don't know how much is going to be absorbed. I see a lot of women using topical retinols and potentially do not know that information. Like I say, theoretically, it may not pose a risk because you may not be absorbing as much, but you would never know. And so I think my opinion would be to just stay away from, especially retinols. Other active ingredients, vitamin C, possibly could be something that I could incorporate into my skincare routine. However, I do get a lot of vitamin C in my diet, which we will go on to later on in the video. And so again, I just think at the moment, for cost, really, do I need it? And then the last thing that I use is just a moisturiser, and I use this twice a day. This is actually a moisturiser that my mum uses. So for anyone who doesn't know, my mum is also a pharmacist, but she specialises in dermatology, and she makes all of her own skincare, and it's all natural, it's all organic, and even these little tubs are fully compostable, so literally they just degrade. So it's all to do, it's all sustainable, and look, I've got hardly any left of it because I use it all the time. Basically, it's all non-comedogenic ingredients, which means that they're non-acne causing, and sometimes she will actually put some natural actives in it. So I know that she uses one called Bactroil, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but that is a natural vitamin A derivative. This particular one I don't think has it in it, but I think when it comes to natural sources, so plant sources of vitamin A are fine. It's just the animal derived vitamin A's that pose a risk. And then also I think this one maybe has some hemp oil in it, which hemp obviously comes from the hemp plant. You get cannabis also from that plant, but that also has anti-inflammatory properties. So then that is what I use. So I feel like we may as well actually just do my skincare. I'll probably speed this up a little bit, and then I will come back and then show you what it looks like once it's done. skincare routine. So like I say, pretty simple. I don't use many products, I would say. You can also now see the redness in my skin that is sort of like my biggest insecurity, I would say, with my skin. But what I'll do then is, like I say, I mainly focus on eating my skincare. So in the next video or in the next section of this vlog, I'm going to do a couple of recipes that we can cook together. Okay guys, so I wasn't actually planning on picking the camera up today. So the last time I spoke to you was a couple of days ago when I went through my skincare routine. And ironically, I was actually saying within that section of the vlog that my skin's quite good, like don't ever get breakouts. And then all of a sudden this week, I don't know whether you can see, but I've actually started breaking out on my skin. I've actually had to wear a little bit of makeup today. I've just been to the gym, which I would never usually do, and that's because I feel really conscious of it. A bit ironic really, but I think it's a really important thing for me to actually discuss on the vlog because I've actually been feeling really stressed this week. There's been a lot of things going on, work stress, also we're doing a home renovation project, which I mentioned last time, and to be honest, it's been really stressful. So like not really getting much sleep. My diet hasn't been the best, to be honest, as well, like with being consistent with meal timings and even being consistent with meals. I've been eating out a lot, trying to eat healthy stuff still, but it all takes a toll, and so that has really induced this stress response. And so I wanted to just address it because we always talk about how stress can have an impact on a lot of different things in the body, and our skin is one of them. And so I just thought, well, why don't I just explain what actually is happening, what is going on, just because I think that sometimes whenever you get a greater understanding of why something is happening, then you're better equipped to deal with it. So when it comes to stress and your skin, so you have to think of our skin is the first line of defense in our immune system. Your skin is the first defense against everything on the outside. So we have bacteria that live on our skin that fight infection. Obviously your skin acts as a physical barrier to the inside as well, and so it is also involved in a lot of what we call endocrine functions. Now your skin is directly related also to your brain. So our brain is obviously where all the physiological responses of stress occur. So when your body is under stress, which is a very important thing, by the way, we always demonize stress as like this really bad thing for our health, and it's only when it's chronic stress is when it sort of poses an issue, because without stress and without the stress response, we literally would die within a matter of hours, because we need adrenaline, we need cortisol to spike to actually keep us alive. But like I say, when it's chronically elevated, it can cause a lot of different issues, and your skin is one of them. So when you chronically elevate cortisol, it can actually damage the skin barrier. It also decreases the production of collagen, and it also increases inflammatory mediators. So it causes this inflammatory response, which is why you can get breakouts. Also psoriasis, things like that, they're closely linked to stress responses. Psoriasis as well actually is really linked to, or it's closely linked to metabolic dysfunction, cardiovascular disease, which sort of goes back to this stress response because cortisol is also involved in insulin resistance as well. Again, these are all things that are really quite complex, but the main point is that if you are chronically stressed, it can come out in your skin. You're going to be obviously more tired as well, which affects your skin. It also makes your skin then more dehydrated. Basically, the spike in cortisol means that it takes away all of the moisture from your skin. So yeah, I think really ironically, because I like I say, I never ever break out really, but I think again it was an important point to make that if you are chronically stressed, or if you even just like acutely, so like when I say acutely, anything more than a couple of hours of stress is more chronic, but obviously this has happened. So yeah, we will see obviously how I get on next week. I'm trying to maintain my stress level, which is something I find really difficult to do, but yeah, I just thought it was important to just come on and just actually say that, because this is obviously the reality of my life, and I just wanted to share it and help you understand sort of why your skin may break out if you are feeling stressed. But yeah. Guys, so it is Monday afternoon now. It's actually really warm outside, and I was just about to make a smoothie drink that I make quite often, and I thought I'd make it with you because this is one of the recipes that I make specifically for, well, overall health, but focusing on skin health. So I'll go through all the ingredients, and then we'll go through why I use those ingredients, using the 5 different things that we said earlier on in the video for supporting skin health. Got all my ingredients out for it, and so like I said, I'm going to make a little smoothie shake thing. So the first thing that I'm actually going to put into it is chia seeds. So we talked about inflammation being one of the drivers for a lot of skin conditions, and so we need to be having anti-inflammatory food that contains a lot of what we call omega-3. So omega-3 is an essential fatty acid, so it means that we have to get it from our diet, and it's involved in sort of the opposite of inflammation. So it's an anti-inflammatory molecule within our body. Most people in the modern world anyway are deficient in omega-3, and that's because we don't get enough of it from our diet. So the way that our fish is farmed, the way that our plants are cultivated, the actual amount of omega-3 in plants and animals now is less than what it was years ago. So that means that we are deficient in it. We also have a lot more omega-6. So omega-6 is the opposite to omega-3. It's also an essential fatty acid, but it does the opposite, so it causes inflammation. Now, that isn't a bad thing necessarily, because we do need inflammation in order to actually survive. Without it, I did mention in the previous little section of this vlog, we would die within a matter of hours. So we do need omega-6. However, we need it to be balanced. And like I say, a lot of us are imbalanced when it comes to our omega-3 to 6 ratio. Your omega-3 to 6 ratio should be between 1 to 1, so 1 molecule of omega-3 to 1 molecule of omega-6, or 4 to 1, so 1 molecule of omega-3 to about 4 omega-6s. When I did my balance test a few months ago, mine was like 16 to 1, so 16 omega-6 to 1 omega-3, and I've seen even higher than that, to be honest. So chia seeds, like I say, are going to be the anti-inflammatory molecule that we're going to be putting into this shake. So to be honest, I don't really ever measure anything else. I just sort of eyeball it. So I'm just going to put about that much in. So now that will obviously give it a gelatinous texture. So the next thing I'm going to add is going to be almond milk. Now the reason I usually use the Plenish one of these, just because it's literally got nothing in it, but whereas this has got a few emulsifiers in it, but to be honest, it was the only thing that I had in. So I'm just using almond milk. Now I am actually allergic to milk, so I don't use dairy, but another thing that we have to be mindful of when we're thinking about skin health is that dairy can exacerbate skin conditions, especially things like acne, because it basically stimulates a pathway called mTOR, which again is going very into the science, but if you are acne prone, I'm not saying completely cut out dairy, but maybe even just like reducing your dairy intake and see if that helps, because sometimes it can be a driver for adult acne is, a high dairy diet. So I'm using almond milk, but like I say, you can use any milk that you would usually use. So again, I don't really go measure anything else, I just sort of eyeball it. Now I'm making it for me and my husband, so I've just added about that much in. The next thing that I'm going to add in is pomegranate. Now we talked about, again, the second principle being antioxidants. So our skin is very prone to damage from the sun, from pollutants, and this is when we can start to see aging, you can start to see dark spots, you can start to get wrinkles. All of those things are usually caused by these reactive oxygen species, which cause damage under your skin. So foods that are high in antioxidants are usually, as a rule of thumb, going to be any food that is very dark in colour. So in this one, I'm using pomegranate, which also contain vitamin C. So vitamin C is going to be what we need for collagen. So collagen needs both vitamin C and zinc in order to synthesize it, plus amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. So that's your vitamin C, and then that's also going to be your antioxidants. We're then also using blackberries. Like I say, it's a very dark fruit, it's high in antioxidants, so we're going to put that in. It will also contain some vitamin C as well, to be honest. Again, I'm just literally just adding in a handful really. I'm then also going to use some blueberries, which again, being a dark fruit, will be your antioxidant portion of your shake. Okay, I would then usually add an avocado. So I think we also talked about barrier function or protecting the lipid layer of your skin. You need omega-9 for that. Now, omega-9 is not an essential fatty acid, meaning that your body can actually make it from building blocks that it has within your body. The fact that we're actually putting the chia seeds in, which is an omega-3, your body can potentially will be able to make the omega-9 from that, but avocados are a good source of omega-9, so I would usually put half an avocado in, but when we went to the supermarket yesterday, they just weren't ripe at all, so whether it's just not the season for them, I'm not sure. So that would be what I would usually put in. The next thing I'm going to put in is just some dates. Now, this is really just more for taste, but dates do contain a lot of fibre, so within this, you're getting your chia seeds, you've got your blackberries, you've got your blueberries, you've got your pomegranate. Now we've got some dates. All of those things are going to contain a large amount of fibre. And we also discussed earlier on in the video that our gut health was also directly linked to our skin health. So even though it adds to the taste, it's also adds to the fibre within the shake. So it's going to be beneficial for our gut. I'm going to add some almond butter. So almond butter does contain a small amount of zinc, which I've just said before is for supporting collagen synthesis. So that's where you're getting the four things: anti-inflammatory from the chia seeds, you've got antioxidants from the berries, you've got the barrier function from the chia seeds, but you would usually use half an avocado in this recipe, and then you've also got your collagen synthesis support from the pomegranates, the blackberries and blueberries with the vitamin C, and then also from the almond butter, which contains zinc. I would also like to know if anybody has found a good quality protein supplement, because I don't use protein supplements anymore, just because a lot of them are just ultra processed and yeah, they're just not the best quality. Now, if there was one out there where it was a high quality whole food source protein, I would probably put this in there, because protein is also going to be supportive of your collagen synthesis again, because in order to synthesize collagen you need the amino acids, which are the building blocks of it. There will obviously be some protein within this from the milk, a little bit, also from a bit from the almond butter, potentially the chia seeds have a tiny amount in, but I would ideally like to have more protein in it. But again, if anybody has any recommendations, then do let me know. All I'm going to do now is I'm just going to literally blend this up. Sometimes I will put a banana in. Now, the only thing to note with that is that if you are blending a banana in, sometimes it can actually affect the absorption of all of the other things which is in a shake. So I've actually stopped doing that now, just to see whether I see a difference, to be honest. But yeah, we'll just blend this up and then we'll see what it's like. So yeah, that is like a little glow skin smoothie. I also have this, well, I'll try and have it every day, but it is an omega-3 and a vitamin D supplement. It contains omega-3, it contains olive oil, omega-9 as well. So yeah, I have a little bit of that every day, which again is for inflammation really, but just supportive of your whole health in general. So yeah. And then obviously we mentioned the fifth principle when it comes to skin health is hydration. I've actually drank this much water this morning, so I've had 2 litres already, and then this is like a little glass that's been in the fridge. So yeah, I probably have, I would say, about 3 litres of water a day potentially. I'm always drinking water. Okay guys, so I've actually just sat down to edit this week's video. I actually wasn't even going to put a video out this week. I'll be honest, I've had a really hard couple of weeks, so within this video you'll know that if you've clicked on it, you're thinking that you're getting something where it was supposed to be what I eat for my skin, and I've done one recipe. I actually did want to do a couple more. The sad thing about it is that the recipes that I wanted to do are things that I eat every single day. I probably made them about 3 different times this week. I just felt like I just couldn't pick the camera up. Now I did say again earlier on in the video that I I was under a lot of stress this month, and I ended up breaking out, which is something that I never do. I ended up also becoming really bloated, which I haven't suffered with in so many years. And for anyone who knows me will know that I've been suffering with, I would say debilitating, to be honest, back pain for on and off out for at least the last 3 years, but it's been particularly bad over the last couple of months, and this month it really reached sort of a peak where I was in a lot of pain. I also felt so drained, I felt emotional, all of these things that it just made my life just really hard over the last couple of weeks, and you're just trying to just get through, never mind like editing videos, recording videos. So yeah, now the reason why I actually wanted to put this little segment in is because one of the reasons why I obviously set the channel up is because I'm trying to advocate for people to live healthier lives. I'm trying to advocate for people to invest in their health when they're younger so that they can thrive later on in life. And I'm trying to educate people on maybe things that they may not have known, giving them little tips and tricks to just, like I say, improve their health for the long term. And I feel like I'm at a bit of a crossroads now with my own health, because there's clearly something that is causing all of these symptoms for me. And I've had a scan, which I mentioned on the video last week, where it's come back essentially normal. However, that scan paired with the fact that I did my inflammation levels and they've come back slightly raised, there's a few things that I'm thinking that I need to potentially investigate further. So is this just down to stress? So is it, I obviously have a full-time job, I'm trying to build a business, I'm just trying to keep up with life in general, or is there something else going on? So the thing that I'm potentially thinking is this endometriosis, which obviously wouldn't be great for me, but when I'm looking at all my symptoms and the timing of my symptoms when it correlates with my cycle, they do match up. Now, for me, like if it was that, it's really difficult because, it can take up to 10 years to get a diagnosis of that. Also the treatment for it is, or the treatment options at the moment are not the best for it, or contraceptive, or, getting surgery, which with my current situation where I'm hoping that I can have children in the future, in the near future, those two things are not options for me. So yeah, I just thought, obviously I wanted to say exactly, why I haven't posted this week, or why the video didn't go up when it was should have. Also just to say sorry that the video ended up not being the video that I planned in my head. But I also want to be completely honest on here, and I want to be real. And if this is something that is a little bit more sinister, that does require potentially a diagnosis, then I also want to document that on here, because as we know with something like endometriosis, but for women's health in general, advocating for yourself is quite difficult. Often you get dismissed, and so if I, as a health professional with the knowledge of of certain conditions, the knowledge of what certain tests you would need to look out for, etc., if I can help somebody else, then obviously that is exactly why I set the channel up. But yeah, I just wanted to say sorry for the lack of recipes. I'm hoping that we will have enough time over the coming months where I can do a more in-depth what I eat for my skin health. My skin, by the way, is actually gone okay now, so I know that it did break out a couple of weeks ago. It's gone fine again, but yeah, I'm still in a little bit of pain. I'm also going to try and take it easy steps for me just going forward as to what I'm doing now. Obviously, like I say, I'm going to book in a GP appointment and see what the next steps are for me, whether it is going for further scans. But as far as my lifestyle is concerned, when it comes to endometriosis, if it was something like that, or even if it was something like PCOS or another hormonal condition, an anti-inflammatory diet is going to be the best thing. Now, I do eat an anti-inflammatory diet, so I'm going to keep up with that, avoiding alcohol. So I don't really drink that much anymore, but I'm going to completely cut that out from now, so that will no longer be a feature in my life. Caffeine as well, I have quite a bit of caffeine. I have 2 cups of coffee on average a day. I've completely cut that out over the last couple of days. And then I'm also going to hopefully try and support my hormones better. So again, maybe I will do a video on it where, you know, we go into depth into what actually happens throughout your cycle, maybe different foods that I should be eating throughout my cycle, what should I avoid. Also just syncing with my cycle, my exercises. I think, you know, again, I think as women, we tend to sort of think that we are like men in the sense of we can just continue doing things every single day and it doesn't really change, and that isn't the case. You know, you do have to, in some cases anyway. I definitely wasn't like this years ago, which is why I'm really frustrated now, but you know, sometimes you will have to look at your cycle, train optimally for it at the different stages, and that's definitely something that I'm going to look into. And another thing that I'm probably going to have to do with myself is when I need a rest, I need to rest. I think that is one thing I really struggle with, and anybody who has a business or is trying to grow a business will probably understand this, that it's really difficult, especially when you're just starting out, to have rest days. You feel really guilty, and actually when you actually think you're resting, you're probably not, because it's always in the back of your mind that, you know, you should be doing X, Y, Z. Fortunately for me, I do have my amazing husband who, without him, to be honest, like I don't know what I'd do. But yeah, so I just thought I wanted to finish the video and say, if you've got this far, then thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to take it day by day, see how I'm getting on, and just sort of, again, not put too much pressure on myself. But yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and then also comment if there is any other videos, or even if anybody has any symptoms that I've mentioned, or is going through endometriosis or PCOS or any other health condition. You know, comment down below, because I'd like to know, you know, sort of what you do in order to make yourself feel your best. But yeah, thanks for watching.